Hi there, everyone, and welcome to UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I am Maya Engel, live in our digital studio, and it sounds like we were going to check in with Joe for first weather, but it sounds like his camera died. So we will circle back to Joe, but let's just start off right away with our question of the day. So today, our question of the day, of course, tonight is the first presidential debate. So will the presidential debate have an impact on your vote? Right now, 11% have said yes, 89% have said no. Let me just go to our website to see how many people have voted so far. Looks like 229 people have voted. So if you haven't voted yet, you can scan that QR code on your screen right now to let us know what you think about this. Of course, President Joe Biden and Donald Trump, first presidential debate of the 2024 election year, will start tonight at 9 o'clock. And we will have full coverage of the debate. We'll have a recap of everything. And then also we are going to be going to a couple of different watch parties in the Grand Traverse County area for both Republicans and Democrats. So we'll get reaction from some of our local politicians on the debate tonight on Up North Live News at 11. But we have a couple of really good stories tonight. So I am going to get right into that. The first one, if you recall the barge incident in Grand Traverse County, if you live in Grand Traverse County or Leelanau County, this probably rings a bell. So Don Belcom, the owner of the barge, he was back in court today. So his infamous barge is still indeed in Grand Traverse Bay, where it's been moved around for years now. So he does face legal charges all along the way, with hopes from both sides that a resolution could be reached. Today, he was called back into court, and when we spoke with him earlier this week, he wasn't exactly sure why he was called back into court, but Mark Shillette was there in the courtroom today, and he has the latest.
I have not slept one full night in 3 years.
Don Balcom spent much of his afternoon here in a Leelanau County courtroom, where he spent a lot of time over the last several years. But this is where he probably would have rather been, out on the water, near the barge he built and used for his business for decades.
Physically, I'm in love with it, and I'll fight for it. And I just don't want to see it scrapped or whatever they're contemplating doing.
Back in March, he took us on a tour of the barge, which has been parked for months with permission from the property owner just south of Sutton's Bay. But since 2020, when the barge first sank in the bay, permission has been hard to come by for Balcom, eventually leading to legal issues with the state. In March, he entered a plea agreement. He would get the barge repaired and moved.
It's just not like moving a car. You just can't pick it up and move it. Depending on weather and equipment available.
And moving it has proven to be a challenge. Today in court, the clock officially started ticking for Don Balcom as his official sentencing hearing was held, giving him an opportunity to address the court.
I just am very embarrassed that this whole thing is turned around the way it is. I've worked my tail off all my life and done things up and down this lake. I worked on the Mackinac Bridge. I built a power plant in Marquette. I've been in the water all my life. I've been in marine construction for 72 years on my own, doing other things. And this thing is such a minor thing to us that it's just gotten out of hand.
As part of the plea deal, Balcom was given 1 year starting today to get the barge sold or moved to an approved location. If he does that, or if in the meantime the state comes in and hauls it away, which they can do at any time, the felony charge will be lowered to a misdemeanor.
Mr. Balcom is 89 years old. He has no offenses within the prior 10 years, and so the people are not requesting jail time in any event. Just think it's important to acknowledge that social value of Lake Michigan.
After hearing from both sides, Judge Hamlin ordered Balcom to pay a $100 fine and standard court costs and handed down a 12-month probation sentence, during which time he hopes a resolution can finally be reached in a unique case that has stretched out over the years.
Really, the focus of a sentence like this is to certainly, in this unique case, solve the problem here, but also prevent it from happening in the future to ensure that we don't have to deal with something like this again.
That was Mark Shillette reporting, and possible restitution will be determined in the future should the state have to pay to have the barge moved. Now, in the past, when we have talked to Don Belcom, he told us that he spent more than $100,000 getting the barge seaworthy and sellable. So we will keep you updated on where things go with Don Belcom's barge case. But here is another story that we are working on today, and this one was up in Luce County. So back in April, Congress awarded a gold medal to Rosie the Riveter, and to honor millions of women who worked on the home front in World War II. Well, a replica medal found its way into the Upper Peninsula just in time for one Rosie to celebrate her 100th birthday. Up North Live's Daniel Zivian was there and introduces us to this Rosie.
It's as if her life story was plucked from a textbook. She'll tell you about the planes she built in Detroit, the time she saw Frank Sinatra, even a brief stint as a pinup girl. And naturally, her name is Rose.
My sister worked at Stinson Aircraft, putting the motors on the planes. I graduated and then I went to Stinson, and they hired me and they trained me for 2 weeks and to be a riveter.
She was only 18 years old, working the late shift with 2 15-minute breaks.
And they had dances that we could go to, but we were too tired to dance.
Years later, the assisted living home in Newberry is celebrating Rose's 100th birthday. Her family, including several great-grandchildren, will be there with her.
This is going to be on the radio.
One of her sons, Randy, is taking calls from the Rosie the Riveter Association.
I got her signed up as a member, and they were just thrilled about it. And I've talked to some of the guys who have built or are still flying the plane that she built, and they were thrilled to, hear about her, and they've sent her photos of their planes and all kinds of birthday cards.
After the war, Rose left the factory floor and worked as a secretary. She says she never could have imagined her actions warranting a gold medal.
I didn't know that I was doing a great job. And I loved it. I loved working with the girls.
Now she's kind of the center of attention. Instead of her taking care of everybody else, it's our turn to take care of her.
In Luce County, Daniel Zivian, Up North Live News.
Wow, what a great story. And Daniel is with us now live. Dan, thanks so much for joining us. And what a great story. And I know you only got to spend about an hour with Rose. I'm sure you probably could have spent all day listening to her stories. What were some of the things that really stuck out to you most about just her experiences?
Good evening, Maya. You're absolutely right. It was all too brief a time with the family. First of all, let me just make this very clear. Rose is sharp as a tack at 100. She has a very deep memory for all of the things she's experienced. But what I think really stuck out to me most is just the very basic detail of, her being one of the many women who went to work. These were jobs that women weren't really doing back then. And it was a difficult adjustment to make for a lot of people. And she as you heard in the story, 2 15-minute breaks a day. She worked kind of later hours. Apparently it could go into the early morning sometime. And the thing that I guess really stands out, that's two things that really stand out. But the thing that really, really stands out is that, she didn't really understand the significance of it until relatively recently. They just got signed up for that association. Congress only authorized that gold medal just before the pandemic, and they only just awarded it in general to all the Rosie the Riveters this past April. The authentic medal is staying in Washington. The association's doling out replicas. And she just, this was a job she did. And then when the war was over, she was out of the factory. All of the GIs were coming in and taking those jobs back. And like many women, she went to work as a secretary at a school. She got married, and, it was like this brief moment of her life. And years later, suddenly it's this very significant historical moment that us Americans somewhat idolize and admire, that all of these tenacious people went and did these things. And to her, it was just, I graduated high school. My sister was there. She got me a job. although one sad detail about that is the fact that, this happened at the same time as her losing many friends to the war that went off to fight. She went to high school with. She graduates high school, and there go a lot of her friends who are guys, and even some women too, I imagine, off to Europe or the Pacific.
And I'm glad that you mentioned how sharp she was in person, because just from watching your story, that was one of the first things that I noticed was, oh my gosh, for 100 years old, she really just has it all going. Like, she really knows what's going on, and she definitely recalls a lot of specific details. It's very impressive.
Absolutely, it is. And it's a long path that really got her here. She's originally from Detroit. She's not a Youper in the way that a lot of Youpers would call someone that. A lot of Youpers, I'm told, you got to be born here. That's not her. But she has been retired up here for quite a long time now. And it's really nice to see the assisted living home here. They're really all into this. You saw some of the decorations that were put up for the party they're going to throw in honor of her. You saw how they were accommodating the family. I assume they all stayed for lunch.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very special place, and a very, very special family, and a very special Rosie.
Absolutely. And one thing that I really enjoyed about your story, and I know when we talked a little bit before the show started that you weren't sure you were going to even include this part, but I loved where she was with her family and she said, "We're going to be on the radio." But of course, she was on TV. That was just very sweet to hear her say that.
Absolutely. It was as I was interviewing her as well. She was wondering which station she could tune into, and I hope and the family was asking what time it was going to be on. I told them 6 o'clock, and I hope she was watching. And I hope I would have loved to have seen her face light up to actually see this on the screen. And uh, it's just such a happy vibe. And you saw the way she looks at her great grandchildren. I think she's got a total of 6 of them. Not all of them were there at the time, but I believe she said 6. And you could see her just holding one of them, looking at her, and she's absolutely over the moon.
What an amazing woman. Well, Danny, in about 30 seconds, is there anything else you want people to know about Rose?
Oh my goodness. She's very proud of having met Frank Sinatra. And I didn't think this would be something I would share on the broadcast, but she is very proud of this too. She's very proud of having been a pinup girl for a second. A friend of hers sent a picture of her to a newspaper, and she's very proud of that as well. And they've got the medal, and all the people are going to celebrate with her tomorrow.
That's awesome. Well, Danny, thanks so much for joining us and for sharing Rose's amazing story. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good night, Maya.
Good night, Danny. We're going to take a short break here on Up North Live Unscripted, but when we come back, we will check in with Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix. He'll have a look at the forecast for Friday and for this upcoming weekend, so stick around. That's next. Welcome back to Unscripted, everyone. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix, who was unable to join us for first weather, but he's here now, and that's all that matters. Hi, Joe.
I'm here. How are you?
I am good. And part of the reason why I'm good is because the sun is out today. It's not too hot, not too cold. It was a perfect weather day, so I can't complain.
No, it was nice. A few folks might maybe want it a little warmer, but
Sure.
It's pretty good in my book, Maya. I'd take that. And it was nice sleeping weather last night, too.
It was really nice.
Which I think that's a big thing in the this time of the year. Let's take a look. What are we going to start with here? I think, let's take a look at the high temperatures. I'll share that with you so you can take a look at that. It was a little below normal this time of the year, or for this time of the year, upper 60s and low 70s, with our normal highs now between 75 and 80. So if that's what you want to compare it to, that's typical, a little bit below that, but it was a nice day. And we're going to get another good night for sleeping. Look at that, 48 to 56 tonight, sleeping forecast, comfortable again. And save on the electric bill a little bit, no ceiling fan or AC needed again overnight tonight. Here's a look around northern Michigan. Now, off to the west of us, there are some clouds. You can see a few of these starting to spill in. We are not going to get any rain tonight. And the first half of tomorrow looks pretty dry too. There is a much more active weather pattern out west. All those yellow boxes are severe thunderstorm watches. And then way up here in western North Dakota, that's where we have that red box, a tornado watch tonight. So some active weather out there, out toward the Badlands, that region. Meanwhile, some rain in Iowa and Minnesota tonight. That's the nearest to us, but we're not going to get any of that here until later tomorrow. So here's what we're looking at overnight: dry weather. We will see some clouds rolling in. If you're heading into work early tomorrow, it'll be dry. But here's when that rain comes in. This is, we'll stop the clock there, 2:30 tomorrow afternoon. This is light. It's not anything heavy, but there will be some light showers from west to east crossing over the state through the evening. So, maybe you have dinner planned 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Just looks like that, kind of wet. And then more substantial rain and maybe some thunderstorms late Friday night, early Saturday. That's a warm front coming in right there. And what the yellows and reds mean, heavier rain in spots into early Saturday. And then this passes through, and then up there on Marquette, you see that batch rain? That's a cold front right on the heels of our warm front. That'll pass through early morning, and then hopefully the thought right now is that as we get into the afternoon, we'll see most of the rain ending. I still think maybe a shower or two in the afternoon or evening Saturday, but a lot of that should come to an end. Here's an estimate on the rainfall. If you get a few of these storms over you tomorrow night, late into early Saturday, perhaps up to an inch of rain. The air show forecast, that's part of the National Cherry Festival in Traverse City. 70s, I still have rain in around noon. Again, this is going to be a very close call Saturday with that front coming through, but it does start to dry out in the afternoon. So just kind of know that going in. And then Sunday, cooler, but a nice day Sunday with 60s. And maybe you're heading up to the St. Agnes Car Show. That's this weekend in Mackinac County, upper 60s. Some rain in the afternoon Friday, and then some rain, showers, and storms on Saturday. Sunday looks okay. And again, it's not going to rain the whole time. Extended forecast, a little wet and unsettled Friday through Saturday. Sunday looks good. Then we're going to take you all the way to the 4th of July. Nice day Monday. Plan on rain Tuesday. And then look at it. We warm up. July 4th is a week from today, Independence Day. Highs in the low and mid 80s. So right now, Maya, on the 4th, looks like it might be a warm one with those 80s in the forecast coming up.
Could be a good day to head out to the lake.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, thanks so much, Joe. We're going to take another short break here on UpNorthLive Unscripted. When we come back, we will check in with Sports Director Harrison Beebe to see what's going on in the sports world today. Stick around. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone. Let's talk sports now, and let's do it with Harrison Beebe, our sports director. Harrison, day 2 of the NBA draft. A pretty big pick was made today, if you know what I'm talking about. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Pistons traded up and got a power forward from Sweden named Bobby Klintman. So that was
Okay.
pretty cool. Yeah, that was probably the most buzzworthy thing anybody's been talking about in the basketball world today was
Yep.
that Pistons second round pick, especially after the Pistons first round pick, Ron Holland the second yesterday. Or are you talking about LeBron James kid going 55th to the Lakers?
That was what I was referencing, but I also want to talk about the Pistons picks, of course.
Well, sadly enough, I probably know more about Bronny James than I do either of the Pistons picks because although I did learn the Pistons second round pick played at Wake Forest a year or two ago before going to play overseas. So we have had some American tape on him. Bronny James obviously played at USC, but in my unscripted opinion for the LA Lakers, I believe they made this pick to make their main man LeBron pretty happy. It seemed like it was going to be a given. This was going to happen. We've seen the Griffeys play baseball together, father and son. Gordie Howe, legendary Detroit Red Wing, played, I believe, some hockey with his son. You know, we've seen father-son combos playing pro sports together, but this will be the first time in basketball, which is actually the hardest one for longevity and age range, really, and skill set, the hardest one to kind of age out appropriately for a father and son to play together. And this, if Bronny makes the main roster, which if they're going to make LeBron happy, I'm going to guess that's going to happen at least once. Those two will share the court together in an NBA game for the first time in history.
That is a pretty cool thought, just to see that. I'm not even a big LeBron James fan, but just to be the first father.
You do. I recall your nickname for LeBron is what again?
All right, listen, this was in 2019. Times have changed, but it was when I was interning at Fox Sports Radio, and Rob Parker loved his GOAT acronyms, greatest of all time, and he would always have different ones. So I came on and said LeBron James is the Walote, the worst leader of all time. Again, 2019, things have changed a little bit. So
he did win the NBA title the very next year, yes. But it was the bubble title, so a lot of people say that it has an asterisk by it. I don't, because every other team had to compete under the same rules, so somebody was going to win at that point. But yes, hot take. It's more impressive, Maya, that you thought of that, and then Rob Parker, who's a very famous Detroit journalist, sports journalist before moving on to LA, basically stole that from you. So we get the truth out here on Unscripted that Rob's getting all his hot takes from you.
But that's what it's like to be an intern. They take your takes, and that's fine. But then he took it onto the herd, too. So it wasn't only on radio, it was on TV, and didn't get any credit.
I'm envious. The only hot take I got when I interned down at Fox Sports Detroit, when I used to go to Tiger games all the time, the radio debate I got going the night I worked down there and talked to the media guys was Mark Wahlberg's best movie. So it wasn't even sports related. It was just what was Marky Mark's biggest contribution to Hollywood. So,
well, what did you say it was?
I don't think I can admit that. It's a movie called Boogie Nights. I don't know if it's very appropriate to talk about on this.
Yeah, we're getting a little off topic there, Harrison, and we are running out of time. So unfortunately, I do have to let you go. We'll see you tonight at 11 o'clock, but we're going to take another break on Unscripted. We'll be back in a few minutes. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on Up North Live Unscripted. Just a reminder, the first presidential debate is tonight at 9 o'clock. We will have a full recap and reaction tonight on Up North Live News at 11. We'll see you then.